I was going a whole 19 miles an hour. That would have been really fast in 1910. The good old days. You know, it's nice to look at these houses that were built like 70 years ago. And they had those one-car garages, and the cars back then would easily fit in the garage, no problem. But now the reason a lot of these cars, these big SUVs, are parked outside the house is because the modern day SUV car is taller than the garage was 70 or 80 years ago. And I find that fascinating to watch. I mean, to look at. In my lifetime. You could have a big, huge Cadillac. Or a Lincoln Continental even. But the car was much shorter. The height of the car, you were taller than the car. The car was like 4.5 foot tall. So today you go stand next to your SUV, and that thing is up to 7 foot tall, the roof off the ground. Or these big trucks. So they don't fit in the garage. It's so funny to watch. They don't fit in the garage that was built 60, 70, 80 years ago in these small little houses. It is quite fascinating. I saw a couple of them back there. Right there's one right there. See how that Jeep would barely fit in there. An SUV would not fit in that garage. An SUV, a modern day like SUV, would not fit in that garage. Especially the big, huge ones they made like in, 2005. The big, huge, like they're bigger than a well. See, like this Sprinter van will not fit in that garage. Look. I just find it hysterical myself. And this was the average house. So I was listening to a financial guy, and he was talking about, he's a Christian financial guy. I should put that in there. The average house in the 1950s and 60s was 1,000 square foot. So when Generation Z today, Gen Z, complains about, oh, we can't afford houses like the baby boomers did. Well, our houses were 900 to 1,000 square foot. The average house today is 2,400 to 2,700 square foot, being built brand new today. So when you say you're going back to building smaller houses today, back to like 1,900 square foot. No, the average house was 800 to 1,000 square foot when I was born. So you say, why was it so cheap to build a house back then? Well, they were a third of the size of houses today. And we had bigger families. Families were twice as big back then as they are today. There's one up here, I'll show you. This was an average house in 1950. And I want to show you here, the car will not fit in the garage. It's comical. It's right here, I'll show you. Look at that. It won't fit in that garage. That cracks me up, man. See, all these houses here were average size houses. There's like a 900 square foot house. And they raised a family of 6 in it. Here's a couple more that were average size houses. Now they put additions on the back of these, you see, you can tell. Right here. That is a 800 square foot house, 700 or 800 square foot house, 6, 7, 8, oh, that one's like 500 square foot. And that's the difference right there. So ask yourself, how much would it cost you to go out and build on a piece of property, a cheap piece of property, like a $10,000 piece of property? How much would it cost you to build today a 1,000 square foot house, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and put your whole family in it? You could build that, if you had the property, you could do it for under $100,000 with nothing fancy added. You could do it for under 100 grand today, and you could pay it off in 10 years and be debt free the rest of your life. So the housing problem is not just the fact that houses cost more because of inflation and the cost of materials don't. You have to get to the root of the problem. Americans went from 900 square foot houses to 2,500 square foot houses. Personally, I live in a 500 square foot apartment. I live in a it's under 500 square foot, really small apartment. And I've always been perfectly happy with my wife. So I love driving around small towns like this and looking at the houses that were built 80 years ago. And they lived their whole entire lives completely fine, and they made about $2,000 a year back then. So imagine today if you and your wife brought home $100,000 a year, you each just made $23 an hour. You'd still bring home, if you both worked 40 hours a week, you'd bring home close to $100,000 a year after taxes. And you go out and buy one lot, no garage, and build a 1,000 square foot house. You would be debt free for life in 10 years, and you could save $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. And that's how people became millionaires in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And in the early 80s, they started building these huge houses. And today, go look at a brand new house. I mean, you don't even actually need a house. You know, in the 1950s, something like 20 million Americans lived in modular homes, like trailer parks. And the population was only about 180 million back then. A large percentage of Americans lived in trailer parks, and they were 100% perfectly happy in life. Where I grew up back in Iowa, I looked at some houses for sale. I said, what's the cheapest houses for sale back in Iowa that I grew up around? They had houses for sale there for $68,000 on 1.5 lots of your own. $68,000. And plenty of jobs nearby. So really, it's coming down to a choice.